After a family evening, I realized $100,000 had vanished. My son said, "You're too old for that kind of money." His wife sneered, "We need it more than you." I grabbed my bag and left. A minute later, the door slammed, and the nightmare began. Subscribe to the channel and share your stories in the comments. And now let's get started. The rain hammered the roof like fists. Each drop struck the tiles with such violence it seemed as though the house itself might split open. It was nearly midnight, and I had been sitting at the kitchen table with the remains of cold tea beside me, staring at nothing. Sleep hadn't come easily in years, not since Robert died. The silence in this house had grown heavy, oppressive. But that night, the storm drowned even the silence. Then, in the middle of the downpour, the screen of my phone lit up. Emma. I felt it before I answered, the kind of dread that doesn't knock, it barges in. My hand shook as I pressed the green circle. What came through wasn't her voice as I knew it. It was a splintered, ghostly version, strangled and broken. "Mom. I'm so cold. Help me, save my baby." Her words sliced through me. My Emma. My girl, the child I had carried, whose scraped knees I had kissed, whose hair I had brushed out every morning before school. Now she sounded like she was at the bottom of the sea, drowning, fading. Static devoured part of the call. Then a few words fought their way through, shredded by the storm. "Tyler roadside, stop pain." Then it came. A scream. It wasn't just fear. It was a scream of agony, primal. A sound that shattered my insides. And then abrupt silence. "Emma? Emma!" I shouted into the phone, my voice echoing against the kitchen walls. But there was nothing. Only the dead hiss of a broken connection. I dialed back once, twice, again and again until the operator's machine voice answered, cold and lifeless. "The number you are trying to reach is currently unavailable." My legs were already moving before my brain caught up. I tore open the drawer, snatched my late husband's SUV keys, yanked my raincoat off the hook and ran into the storm. The wind slammed into me like a wall. Sheets of water lashed against my face, soaking me in seconds. The driveway shimmered with running rivers swallowing my shoes. But all I heard was Emma's scream, repeating, cutting me open each time. The SUV roared awake, its headlights fighting against the curtain of rain. Wipers swung violently but barely carved sightlines through the black torrent. My knuckles turned white on the steering wheel. Every second felt stolen from her. I thought of the clinic first, the small-town maternity wing where Emma had been checked in just days ago. My mind clung to order, to procedure. Hospitals meant safety, doctors meant control. I barreled through flooded streets, the storm trying to push me off course, until the clinic's glowing cross appeared in the darkness. I burst inside, water dripping onto the tiled floor, hair plastered to my face. The fluorescent lights felt cruelly calm compared to the chaos outside. "My daughter, Emma Roberts, she just called me. She's in labor. Where is she?" The nurse at the desk barely looked up, tapping at her computer with the detachment of someone clocking hours, not lives. Emma Roberts? She was discharged this morning. Her husband picked her up. Her words didn't land right. Discharged? Picked up? If she was safe at home with Tyler, why had she called me? Why had she begged me to save her baby? "I don't think you understand." I snapped, desperation slicing my voice raw. "She called me. She's not safe," she screamed, and the line cut. "Ma'am." The nurse's tone sharpened, professional irritation edging her calm mask. "Our records are clear. She left with her husband. You should check with them." For a second the floor tilted beneath me. The rain outside seemed to thicken, pressing against the glass. I staggered back into the night, drenched and burning with a terror I couldn't name. I drove to their house. My heart slammed with every turn of the wheel. The little blue house by the edge of town, the one they were so proud to rent, should have been glowing with warmth. But when I pulled into the drive, it was dark. No porch light. No sound. The curtains drawn like eyelids shut. I knocked until my fists hurt, shouting Emma's name. The storm swallowed my voice. No answer. The door was locked. My chest ached with the weight of every silent second. I circled back to the SUV. If she wasn't there, she wasn't safe. If Tyler had left her, why? I hit the highway. The storm stretched out in front of me, a living beast. The ocean was somewhere beyond, black and raging. My headlights struggled, bouncing off sheets of rain that looked like walls crashing down. Every few hundred feet a roadside shelter appeared. Dim lights under concrete awnings where lost travelers could wait out tempests like this. I pulled into each one. My door slammed open and I shouted her name into the roaring night, my voice breaking. Wind tore at my coat. Rain hit like knives, my hair whipped across my eyes. Each time only emptiness answered me. At the first shelter, nothing but a drunk slumped on the bench, oblivious. At the second, empty soda cans rolling in puddles. By the third, my throat was raw from calling, my hands trembling on the wheel. But I couldn't stop. I couldn't turn back. Emma had always been the gentle one. A girl who apologized when she wasn't at fault, who smiled through pain so others wouldn't worry. She had fallen for Tyler in her second year of college. His charm had been blinding, his laugh too easy. I had watched it happen, watched her melt into him, ignoring the shadows I noticed. The way he tightened his grip on her wrist in public, the way he joked about her weight when she carried nothing but grace. I had bitten my tongue, prayed she would see it, hoped she would leave before it was too late. But then came the engagement, then the wedding, then Noah, her unborn son who she had clung to as a promise of a brighter life. And now this. Her voice begging in the storm, her scream swallowed by static. The wipers kept up their frantic rhythm. My eyes scanned every shadow, every shelter, every glimmer of movement. I didn't know what I would find, but I knew I would never forgive myself if I stopped searching. The storm wasn't just water. It was judgment, fury, nature itself tearing at me, daring me to keep going. Lightning ripped across the sky, exposing the highway in brief violent flashes. Each strike lit the ocean beyond, waves thrashing like beasts against the cliffs. I kept driving, each shelter a chance, each mile heavier than the last. My voice cracked as I called for her again. But I didn't care if the storm drowned me. Because somewhere out there, in the dark, in the rain, my daughter was waiting. And the only thought that seared itself into me, brighter than lightning, sharper than thunder, was this. Where had Tyler left her? The storm didn't weaken, it grew. Each mile further down the highway was a descent into madness. The rain no longer fell in drops. It poured in sheets, walls of water slamming against the windshield so hard the wipers barely kept up. My breath fogged the glass as I whispered Emma's name over and over, as if saying it aloud could keep her alive. The first two shelters had been empty, but I refused to give in to despair. I remembered the sound of her scream, the fragile rasp of "Save my baby," and that sound carried me forward like a whip. By the time I reached the third shelter, my arms ached from gripping the wheel, my eyes raw from searching through the endless gray. Lightning exploded across the horizon, revealing the squat concrete structure just off the road. I almost drove past it. Another stop, another disappointment, but something caught in my headlights. A pale cream shape wrong against the dark. I slammed the brakes. Tires screamed, water fanned up around me. My heart rammed against my ribs. The beam of light cut across it again and I saw it clearly. A coat. Cream-colored, long with wide lapels. The one I had given Emma for Christmas when she was barely showing. She had twirled in front of the mirror back then, giggling. "Mom, it makes me look like a snow angel." Now it lay crumpled in the mud, rain soaking it into a sodden shroud. I stumbled out of the SUV, nearly falling as water flooded around my ankles. My fingers clawed through the fabric. Yes, it was hers. Emma's. Beside it, shattered into pieces, was her phone. The screen spiderwebbed, black, water pooling in its wounds. "Emma!" My scream tore through the wind. I ran under the shelter. Every nerve in my body braced for the worst. And there, in the farthest corner, curled like a child, was my daughter. Her skin was the color of paper, her lips bluish, hair plastered to her skull. She clutched something against her chest with both arms. A tiny bundle wrapped in a torn blanket. My breath stopped. "Emma!" I dropped to my knees, slipping in water, crawling to her. "Emma, baby, I'm here." Her eyes fluttered open, dazed, glassy. She whispered so faintly I had to bend close to catch it. "Mom, Noah's so cold." The bundle shifted and I saw him. My grandson. His face was pale, his tiny lips pressed shut, his body barely moving. He didn't cry, didn't even whimper. Panic sliced through me. I tore off my coat and wrapped it around both of them, pulling them against my chest, trying to force my warmth into their bones. My body shook violently, not from the cold but from terror. I fumbled for my phone, my wet hands slipping. dialing with trembling fingers. 911, I rasped, my voice breaking. My daughter, she gave birth alone, my grandson, he's not breathing right. We're at the 3rd highway shelter. Hurry, please God, hurry. The operator's voice was calm, too calm for the storm in my veins. Stay on the line. Help is on the way. I pressed Emma's head to my shoulder, rocking her like I had when she was a child. You're safe now, I've got you, just hold on. But her body shook uncontrollably, her teeth chattering. Her arms, stiff with exhaustion, loosened, and I had to grip Noah myself. His skin felt ice cold, too cold for life. I pressed him to my chest, my breath ragged, whispering prayers into his hair. The storm howled around us. The roof rattled, rain hammered like bullets. The world beyond was nothing but darkness and water. I became an animal, crouched over my young, shielding them from everything outside. Minutes stretched like hours. At last, sirens. Red and blue lights flashing through the rain, cutting across the black. The paramedics swarmed in. One reached for Noah, but I clung tighter, panicked. He's freezing, don't take him, keep him close, he'll die. A woman's voice, urgent but gentle. Ma'am, we'll help him. Please. My fingers loosened barely as they lifted Noah. The medic pressed him against heated blankets, fitting a tiny mask over his mouth. Another medic eased Emma onto a stretcher, strapping her in as she mumbled incoherent words. I followed them into the ambulance, my clothes soaked, hair dripping down my face. Inside, warmth blasted from heaters, clashing with the chill that had seeped into my bones. Condition, one medic barked. She delivered alone, unknown duration of exposure. Baby hypothermic, shallow breathing. Emma moaned softly. I gripped her hand, whispering, You're safe, you're safe. Her eyes rolled toward me, unfocused, then closed. The baby whimpered just once, a faint sound like the cry of a bird. That single note split me open. Tears spilled down my face. He was alive. The medic met my eyes, voice low. You got them here just in time. The rest blurred. Hospital doors flying open, nurses rushing them away, my footsteps echoing through sterile halls. The fluorescent lights seemed endless, each one another second of agony. I sat in a hard plastic chair outside the emergency room, shivering, praying. Hours passed. The storm outside faded, but inside me it raged on. Every time the door swung open, I leapt up, only to be waved back. Finally, at dawn, a doctor stepped out. His scrubs were damp with sweat, his eyes rimmed red from the long night. Mrs. Roberts? Yes, I gasped. They're both alive. Your grandson had severe hypothermia, but he's stable now. Your daughter suffered exhaustion and blood loss, but she's resting. They'll need close monitoring, but... He allowed himself a faint smile. You got them here in time. The breath I had been holding for hours finally tore out of me. Relief hit so hard I collapsed back into the chair, sobbing silently into my hands. But even as the relief flooded me, a question remained, sharp, poisonous, unrelenting. Why had Emma been there? Why had she given birth alone in the storm, abandoned in a shelter by the highway? And where, in God's name, was Tyler? 3 days. That was how long I sat in the hospital corridor, a prisoner of those white walls and the squeak of nurses' shoes. 3 days of cheap coffee cooling in my hand, of my eyes burning from the fluorescent light, of my body locked between hope and dread. Emma lay in a room beyond the glass, silent. Tubes ran from her arms, monitors hummed around her, and beside her, little Noah lay in the nursery incubator, red-faced now, breathing steady, a small warrior fighting his first battle. I should have felt peace at that sight. Instead, my mind gnawed at the absence, at the hollow place where a husband, a father, should have stood. Tyler never came. Not the first night, when Emma clung to life with a thread. Not the second, when Noah's fever spiked. Not the third, when the doctor finally said words I had begged to hear. They're out of danger. And in that silence, the truth began to claw its way out. On the 3rd day, Emma opened her eyes. I leaned forward, holding my breath. Her lips moved, cracked and pale. I pressed close, desperate to hear. He left me. Her voice broke into a whisper. Because I talked back. I froze. Talked back. Those were the words my daughter used. As if defending herself was rebellion. As if the price for raising her voice was abandonment in a storm, childbirth on a cold concrete floor. Her eyelids fluttered shut again, the confession leaving her drained. My throat burned with questions, but I swallowed them because her body couldn't carry more tonight. I sat there staring at her fragile face, rage building like a slow fire. Later that afternoon, I tried to reach Tyler myself. My call went unanswered. I sent a message. Emma nearly died. The baby is in the hospital. Come. The reply came within minutes. A single line that I read again and again until it blurred. Stay out of my family's affairs. I stared at the screen numb. Affairs. As if Emma and Noah were objects, as if her collapse, her terror, her call to me in the storm, had been nothing more than paperwork he'd misfiled. On the fourth day, the hospital discharged them. Emma's body trembled with every step, Noah a fragile weight in her arms. I drove them home to my house, where the smell of soup still lingered from the night before, where the crib Robert built decades ago still waited in the spare room. For the first time in days, I felt the tight band around my chest loosen. My daughter under my roof. My grandson within reach. I told myself I could protect them. That evening the knock came. When I opened the door, Marjorie stood there, Tyler's mother. Her lips painted sharp red. Her eyes burning with judgment. Behind her stood two neighbors from her church, their faces tight with disapproval. She didn't greet me. She didn't ask about Emma or the baby. She went straight to accusation. You're hiding her. Emma has postpartum depression. She's not thinking straight. You can't keep her from her husband. Before I could answer, Tyler appeared from behind her, stepping onto my porch as if it were his own. His shirt was perfectly ironed, his smile sharp with performance. Emma, come on. He called into my living room. Let's not make this harder. Pack up. We're going home. Emma froze in the hallway, Noah cradled against her chest. Her eyes darted to me, wide, frightened, but then to Marjorie's glare, to Tyler's outstretched hand. Don't do this, I whispered to her. Stay. But my daughter, gentle even in her own ruin, shifted Noah in her arms. Her lips trembled as she forced a tiny smile at me, one that cut me deeper than any scream. It's okay, Mom. I'll go. I don't want you in trouble. Her words shattered me. She was the one who had nearly died, yet she was the one shielding me. She walked toward Tyler like a prisoner returning to her jailer, her shoulders bowed, her eyes down. I stood frozen, helpless as the door closed behind them. The storm outside was gone, but another had risen inside me. A storm that carried no rain, only resolve. That night I sat alone at the table, staring at Emma's broken phone, the one I had picked up from the shelter floor. Its screen was shattered, its casing bent, but it still held something. Evidence. I turned it in my hands, the weight of a decision forming in me. I couldn't storm Tyler's house with fists or fury. He would twist it, paint me as hysterical, paint Emma as unstable. No, if he lived in lies, then I would drag truth into the light. I called my brother, Nate. His voice, steady as always, grounded me. I need you, I said, my words low, trembling. I need proof. Stronger than my word. Stronger than Emma's whispers. The next morning, Nate arrived with tools and a grim face. He held the broken phone gently, as if cradling a wounded bird. I'll recover what I can. But if you really want to corner him, we need more than texts. We need to see him. Hear him. Plan took shape. Small, careful, dangerous. Cameras hidden in planters, microphones behind drapes. Evidence collected not in rage but in silence. That night, while Tyler played the doting husband at the grocery store, Nate slipped into their loft near the bay. He set the devices one by one with the precision of a surgeon. We waited. When the footage came through, my breath stopped. Tyler flung his bag onto the floor, his face twisted with disdain. His voice, once smooth, lashed out with venom. You're useless. You can't even keep the place clean. Why can't you be half the woman Brooke is? Emma sat still, rocking Noah, her shoulders hunched like a soldier under fire. She said nothing. She didn't even flinch. Silence had become her shield. Later, he stood on the balcony, his silhouette stark against the night. His voice was sharp, every word like a whip. Step outside again, and don't expect me to come a second time. The camera didn't just record sound. It recorded cruelty made flesh. It captured what Emma's whispers had only hinted at. I watched the footage again and again until the bile rose in my throat. Proof. Proof that Emma wasn't crazy, wasn't depressed, wasn't weak. She was living in a cage and he was the warden. The footage was a wound, but wounds tell truth. And truth was a beginning. I closed the laptop, my hand steady for the first time in days. Tyler had built his world on lies, but lies rot from the inside when light finds them. And I was ready to burn every shadow away. I learned to stop waiting for apologies. Tyler would never come with flowers to the hospital, never kneel by Emma's bed, never say the words, "I'm sorry." His silence was not absence. It was a P*N. And Emma, too fragile to fight, carried it in her chest like a stone. But I carried something else now, evidence. Proof that silence had teeth. Nate sat across from me at my kitchen table, the broken phone on the cloth between us, his laptop humming softly. He had managed to pull fragments of messages, scattered like bones. Pieces of arguments cut short. Sentences half deleted. "You're worthless. Stop crying. Don't make me." Then nothing. "Not enough," he said, his voice heavy. "*TS can be denied. We need him as he is." His voice. His face. That was when the idea sharpened. A camera in the planter by the balcony. A microphone tucked behind the drapes. Not my words, not Emma's, his. Saturday came like a drumbeat. Tyler left for the store, wearing that mask of caring husband, for the neighborhood, nodding at passersby, letting the world see his perfect family man costume. While he played his part, Nate slipped into their loft near the bay. Hands steady, tools silent. He moved like a ghost, sliding the camera into soil, fixing the mic under fabric folds. That night Emma texted me one word. Home. I sat in the dark with Nate, laptop open, screen split between the feed from their living room and balcony. My heart hammered so hard I could feel it in my teeth. The door opened. Tyler entered, his silhouette dripping arrogance. He flung his bag down, muttering curses as though the air itself offended him. Emma was on the couch, Noah in her arms rocking in silence. "What the hell is this mess?" His voice was a lash. "You sit all day and can't even keep the place clean?" "I work, Emma. I bring in the money. And this is what I come home to?" Her shoulders curled inward. She rocked Noah slowly, her face lowered, lips pressed shut. "Answer me." He snapped his fingers in front of her face like she was a dog. "Why can't you be half the woman Brooke is?" The name landed like acid. Brooke. Another woman. The way he spat it like a prize Emma could never win. Emma's arms tightened around Noah, her silence a shield she had learned through survival. The baby whimpered softly and Tyler sneered, kicking his shoes off into the corner. I gripped the edge of the table so hard my nails cut crescents into the wood. Every muscle in my body screamed to tear through the screen, to drag him away from her. But I sat still. Because this was what we needed. Not my fury but his cruelty. Hours bled on. He moved around the apartment like a storm, slamming drawers, muttering insults. Then he stepped onto the balcony. The microphone caught the shift in his tone. Not calmer, only colder. He leaned against the railing, his voice low but sharp. "Listen carefully, Emma. Step outside again, and don't expect me to come a second time." The words were simple, but the venom in them was unmistakable. He was talking about the night of the storm, about leaving her on that roadside. And he was reminding her, it had been a choice. I covered my mouth with my hand, bile rising. Beside me, Nate's jaw clenched hard. "We've got him," he whispered. We watched the footage again and again, each replay slicing deeper. His bag thrown, his insults flung, his threats sharpened. And Emma, silent, broken, her body curved like a shield around her child. When the laptop screen finally went dark, I sat back, my chest hollowed out. Proof didn't bring relief. Proof was a wound, open and bleeding. But wounds also told the truth. "We'll need more," Nate said quietly. "This is enough to start, but not enough to finish. Courts want patterns, not just one night." I nodded, though my eyes burned. "Then we'll give them patterns." That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling while the storm inside me raged. The house was quiet, but my mind wasn't. I thought of Emma's face when she whispered, "He left me because I talked back." I thought of Noah's fragile chest rising and falling in the incubator. And I thought of Tyler out there still free, still holding the strings. I knew then that my life had changed. I was no longer just Emma's mother. No longer just Noah's grandmother. I was the witness, the recorder, the keeper of truth. And I would not stop until the world saw him as he truly was. The video of Tyler on the balcony should have been enough. Any sane person watching it would hear the threat in his voice, see the disdain in his body. But I knew men like him. He would twist it. He would say it was taken out of context, that Emma was overly sensitive, that a raised voice didn't equal abuse. And his mother, Marjorie, would stand beside him, polishing the lie until it gleamed. We needed the night itself, the storm, the abandonment, proof that he had left my daughter to bleed alone in the rain. So I went back to the highway. It was mid-morning, a weak sun fighting through gray clouds. The shelters looked different in daylight, smaller, less menacing. But the third one still held its scars. Muddy footprints smeared into concrete, the faint scrap of a blanket snagged on a nail. Emma's blanket. My throat tightened. I retraced the night mile by mile. Gas stations, diners, toll booths, anywhere Tyler might have been seen. I carried Emma's photo in her cream coat, showing it to clerks and drivers describing the storm. Most shook their heads, uninterested, but one, a shuttle driver, paused. I remember her, he said, brow furrowing. The storm that night was a beast. I pulled under the third shelter for a while, waiting it out. Saw a figure in a coat stumble out of an SUV, then collapse. My pulse roared. Do you remember the car? Silver SUV, he said slowly. Pretty sure it was a Ford. Driver pulled off, lights stayed on for a minute, then he just drove away. Left her there. I gripped his arm. Do you have proof? He hesitated. I've got a dash cam. It loops every 2 days, but I haven't cleared it yet. Let me check. We sat in his van, my heart pounding as he scrolled through files. And then there it was. 10:36 p.m. The timestamp glowed in the corner. The storm raged, wind howling across the lens. Tyler's silver SUV pulled under the shelter, headlights slicing the rain. The door opened. A figure, Emma, stumbled out, one hand clutching her belly. Tyler stepped out, gestured sharply, pointing toward the shelter. She staggered, bent with pain. He got back into the car. Then the cruelest part. He didn't look back. The SUV pulled away, taillights vanishing into the storm. Emma collapsed to her knees in the rain. The camera shook with thunder as she crawled under the shelter, alone. My chest locked. I pressed my hand to my mouth, tears burning hot. Can I copy this? I whispered. The driver nodded, sliding the footage onto a flash drive. Lady, if what you're saying is true, you take this to the police. That man doesn't deserve to breathe free. Back home, Nate synced the clip with the home footage. Tyler's balcony threat. Step outside again and don't expect me to come a second time. Matched the timestamp. We lined them up. 10:36 p.m. The dash cam. Later that night, his gloating words on the balcony. This is it, Nate said grimly. This isn't just abuse. It's attempted murder. But rage cooled quickly into something sharper, focus. We couldn't just confront him with this. He would call us hysterical, call it fabricated. No, we would build a case. Piece by piece. Each wound documented, each lie pinned down. I watched the footage again late that night, alone in the kitchen. Rain battered the window, not as fierce as that night but enough to echo it. On the screen, Emma stumbled, bent double, collapsing into the mud. My hand shook so badly I had to grip the table. I remembered her as a child, running barefoot in the yard, hair wild in the wind, laughing as Robert chased her with a garden hose. That little girl had grown into a woman too afraid to speak above a whisper, left to bleed in a storm by the man who vowed to love her. I pressed my forehead to the cold wood of the table. The fury in me was no longer fire, it was stone. Solid, immovable. When dawn came, I packed the footage, the recordings, the fragments from her phone into a folder. Nate called it the story. I called it the truth. With this, he said, we'll take him to court. And I nodded, my voice steady, cold. No more silence. No more storm. The world will see him for what he is. For the first time since that call in the storm, I felt the ground beneath me harden. The story wasn't finished, but now it had timestamps. And timestamps don't lie. Evidence builds like bricks in a wall. One layer never enough, but stack them high enough, and even the strongest liar cannot climb out. We had the dash cam, the balcony threat, the broken phone. Still, Nate insisted. Quartz-like patterns. A single storm night can be spun as a mistake. But a double life? That destroys him. That phrase, double life, clung to me. It meant more than another woman. It meant stolen time, stolen money. A betrayal so deep it bled into every corner of Emma's suffering. I returned to the home footage. Frame by frame, I studied Tyler's nights. The cameras caught hours of monotony. Him scrolling his phone, drinking beer, barking orders. Then, one evening, a detail flared like a struck match. Tyler sat on the couch, Noah crying softly in the background. Emma rocked the baby, her face gray with exhaustion. Tyler's phone buzzed. He picked it up and instantly his body changed. His voice softened, his tone syrup-sweet. "Brooke, my love." Emma froze. Just a few feet away, rocking their child, she stared at the wall. She didn't speak. She didn't even blink. Her silence screamed louder than Noah's cries. I felt bile rise in my throat. He was whispering to another woman while his wife, my daughter, sat beside him with their newborn in her arms. I wrote down the name Brooke. The hunt began. I whispered it into laundromats, groceries, diners. At Lizzie's laundromat, gossip is currency, and when I casually asked, a woman looked up from folding sheets. "Oh, you mean Brooke Rivers? Works at the spa on Fisher Street. Always has her nails done, drives a car too nice for her paycheck. People say she's got a benefactor." My stomach turned. Benefactor. That was Tyler's style. Flash money that wasn't his, buying devotion the way he bought Emma's silence. That evening I followed. Tyler left the house polished, hair slicked back, shirt crisp. He didn't head toward the store. He drove toward Fisher Street. I parked half a block away, heart hammering, hands tight on the steering wheel. At 8:17 p.m. he appeared. A brunette in a fitted coat waited by the steps of an apartment building. She looked younger, radiant with a smug smile. Tyler approached, kissed her forehead, and they disappeared inside. I filmed it all. Every step, every touch. Proof doesn't care for dignity. It captures everything merciless. Later I showed Emma. She sat at my kitchen table, Noah asleep in her lap. I placed the phone in front of her, hit play. Her lips parted, eyes wide, tears spilling without a sound. She watched Tyler kiss the other woman, vanish inside. She shook her head once, as if denial could erase the pixels. Then she broke, sobbing into Noah's hair, whispering, "I thought it was me. I thought I wasn't enough. He said I was paranoid." Her voice cracked on the word paranoid. How many times had he used it as a we *p***n? How many nights had he gaslit her into silence, making her believe she imagined what her eyes clearly saw? I gathered her hand in mine. "You are enough. He is not." But questions clawed at me. Spas. Penthouses. Where did the money come from? Tyler worked as a mid-level clerk. His salary could barely cover groceries. Yet Brooke had manicured nails, designer bags, an apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows. I pressed deeper. One afternoon, while waiting outside his office building, I overheard whispers. Two employees leaving through the glass doors. One murmured to the other, "Did you hear about the internal checks? They're looking into strange transfers. Someone's bleeding accounts." I memorized every word. Strange transfers. That night I told Nate. He exhaled slowly, his eyes narrowing. There it is. The money trail. Abuse we can prove. Neglect we can prove. But theft? Fraud? That'll crush him in court. I thought of Emma rocking Noah in the corner while Tyler whispered love into another woman's ear. I thought of Brooke's smile under Fisher Street's street lamp, smug and safe, paid for by Emma's suffering. The fury inside me solidified. It was no longer fire, it was ice. Cold, clear, and sharp. "Then we follow the money," I said. "We tear open every hidden pocket, every stolen dollar. We show the world that the man who abandoned his wife in a storm wasn't just a coward. He was a thief." And with that, the hunt deepened. Not just for Emma's sake. Not just for Noah. But because justice, once lit, cannot be dimmed. The storm had opened the wound. Brooke had poured salt in it. Now I would cauterize it with truth. Abuse can hide in shadows. Words can be denied, bruises can fade, storms can be blamed on chance. But money leaves footprints. Tyler thought he could bury his double life under lies, But lies rot, and money trails always stink when you follow them long enough. It began with a phone call. A woman's voice, clipped and professional, asking for me by name. "Mrs. Roberts? This is Megan Cole from headquarters. We need to speak about financial irregularities connected to your son-in-law's account." My pulse surged. For months I had hunted whispers, half-truths, shadows. Now the shadows called me. The next morning I walked into a glass-walled meeting room downtown. The city buzzed outside, but inside everything was sterile, chrome, white light, silence. Megan Cole sat across from me with a thick binder and eyes that held no warmth. She didn't need warmth. She had numbers. She opened the binder, turning it toward me. Over the last 18 months, $112,000 has been siphoned from multiple company accounts into a private one. The beneficiary? Brooke Rivers. There it was. A number like a blade. $112,000. Not whispers, not suspicion. Digits stamped in black and white. Megan flipped page after page. Apartment leases under Brooke's name, payments for salons, spas, jewelry, vacations. Each item was a nail in his coffin. "Your son-in-law is clever," Megan said flatly. "Small transfers masked as vendor expenses, spread across months. But patterns leave fingerprints. We found them." I slid a flash drive across the table. She raised a brow. Balcony threats. Living room insults. The shelter clip. Street kisses. I said, my voice cold. "You want a pattern? Add these." Megan inserted the drive, watching the footage. Tyler's sneer filled the screen, his voice venomous. Her face didn't change, but when the dash cam showed him abandoning Emma, she exhaled slowly. "Means. Motive. Pattern," she said. "We can work with this." Days later, the hammer fell. Tyler was suspended pending investigation. The company didn't want scandal, but they couldn't ignore theft this large. For the first time, the ground shook under his feet. But cornered men thrash hardest. He struck back, not with fists but with image. Online, a montage appeared. Videos of Tyler cradling Noah, smiling, feeding him with a bottle. Music swelled in the background, saccharine and false. The caption: "A father turned into a villain by lies." Neighbors shared it, clicking hearts, leaving comments. "Such a devoted dad. Some women don't appreciate what they have." Each share was a knife. I knew the truth, but perception is its own P*N. And Tyler wielded it like a blade. Then came Marjorie. She posted photos of Emma, pale in the hospital, and beneath them a medical certificate. "Postpartum depression," it read. Signed by Dr. Robert M. The implication was clear. Emma was unstable. The storm, the screams, the abandonment, hallucinations from a depressed mind. But I had walked that night. I had lifted Emma from the mud. I had held Noah's frozen body against mine. Hallucinations don't leave footprints. Still whispers grew. At the market, neighbors avoided my eyes. At church, women leaned close and muttered. Tyler's story was sweet. Mine was bitter. Sweetness always sells first. Nate fought back with logic. He compared footage. Tyler's sweet dad. Clip overlapped with another where he slapped Emma for spilling water. Same shirt. Same night. Two faces of the same monster. Our lawyer, Rebecca, confirmed what my gut already screamed. The certificate is fake. Wrong license number, wrong formatting. We'll expose it. But just as our case thickened, a blow landed at home. After a tense family dinner, I opened my safe. Empty. $100,000 gone. I confronted my son, Alex. He didn't flinch. His eyes glittered with resentment, not guilt. "You're too old for that money. We need it more." His wife stood beside him, arms crossed, her smirk slicing. "Consider it an advance on inheritance. You'll be fine. We're the ones with bills." For a moment the room tilted. Betrayal doesn't knock politely, it kicks the door open. My own son. My blood. I grabbed a bag and left. Behind me the door slammed so hard the walls shook. But the worst was yet to come. Hours later, Tyler staged a scene. Photos flooded social media. Emma collapsed on the bathroom floor. Pills scattered, Tyler kneeling beside her. Anguish painted on his face. The caption: "She tried to end it. I did my best to save her. Pray for my wife." Within minutes, sympathy poured in. "Poor man. Stay strong, Tyler. That woman needs help. But he had made one mistake. Nate's hidden camera in their loft caught everything. The pills weren't swallowed. They were scattered by his hand. Emma wasn't unconscious. She was crying, begging him not to post. His voice, cold, whispered, "The world will believe me. No one will believe you." The recording showed it all. The lie. The staging. The cruelty. We saved the file under one name, Truth. And truth, once captured, doesn't die. Lies travel faster than truth. Tyler understood that instinctively. While we gathered documents, timestamps, footage, he flooded the town with stories. Easy to believe, easy to share. A smiling father on social media looked more convincing than a broken woman whispering about abandonment. The neighbors saw his posts first. Videos of him cradling Noah, kissing Emma's forehead. A caption. "Despite the hatred, I will always love my family." I walked into the market the next morning and felt their stares like knives. Whispers clung to the air. "Poor man, he tries so hard. She must be exaggerating." Nobody asked me what I had seen. Nobody wanted the storm story. Sweet lies taste better than bitter truth. But Nate was relentless. He sat at my kitchen table, screens glowing around him. "Look here," he said, overlaying two clips. In one, Tyler cuddled Noah, smiling for the camera. In the other, from the same night, same shirt, same lamplight, he slapped Emma across the face for spilling water on the floor. His smile and his violence existed side by side, recorded within minutes of each other. "Neighbors see the smile," Nate muttered. "But we'll show the slap." Rebecca, our lawyer, tore into the forged certificate. "The doctor listed doesn't exist. The license number belongs to a veterinarian. Even the formatting is wrong. No official header, no registration stamp." She spread the fake paper across my table like a piece of spoiled meat. "In court, this will crumble." Piece by piece, we stacked the case. The shelter footage, the home recordings, Brooke on Fisher Street, the $112,000 transfers, the fake certificate, the staged suicide attempt. But betrayal doesn't always come from outside. Sometimes it blooms in your own house. After a family dinner one evening, I went to my room to lock away some savings. My safe stood open. Empty. $100,000 gone. I stormed out, my voice shaking. "Who opened my safe?" "Alex, my son," didn't even blink. His smirk cut me like glass. "We needed it more than you. You're old, Mom. What are you going to do with it?" Beside him, his wife folded her arms, her eyes glittering with contempt. "Consider it an advance on inheritance. You'll be fine. We're drowning in bills." For a moment the room spun. My knees nearly buckled. Betrayal from a son slices deeper than from any stranger. Tyler's cruelty I expected. But Alex, my own child, looked at me as if I were nothing but a wallet. I packed a bag. My hands shook as I zipped it shut, each movement harder than the last. Without a word, I walked to the door. Behind me, it slammed with such force the walls trembled. That night, I drove aimlessly, rain blurring the windshield. I thought of Robert, how he had worked 2 jobs so Alex could have school books, how he had built the crib now holding Noah. If he could see this moment, his son sneering, his daughter-in-law smirking, would his heart survive it? I ended up at Nate's. His door opened before I knocked twice. He took one look at me, bag in hand, face hollow, and pulled me inside. "You can stay here," he said simply. But there was no time to collapse. Because while my safe was being emptied, Tyler staged his masterpiece. The photos flooded online within hours. Emma lying on the bathroom floor, pills scattered across the tiles, Tyler bent over her, face contorted in anguish. The caption. "She tried to end her life. I fought to save her. Pray for my wife, pray for us." The comments erupted. "Poor man, raising a baby alone with a sick wife. She needs help, not hate. Stay strong, Tyler." He had crafted it perfectly. The concerned husband, the fragile wife. The world believed him. But Tyler had made one fatal mistake. He had forgotten the eyes in his own house. The hidden camera captured everything. Emma was not unconscious. She was crying, shaking her head, whispering, "Please don't post this, please don't." Tyler scattered the pills himself, arranging them like a stage prop. His voice, low and venomous, slithered into the mic. "The world will believe me. No one will believe you." When I watched the footage, my stomach knotted so tight I could barely breathe. He was no longer just a liar. He was a puppeteer, scripting Emma's despair into his performance. We saved the video under one word: truth. But even truth felt fragile in the face of such cruelty. The next morning I walked through town. Eyes followed me, some pitying, some accusing. People nodded politely, but I could hear what they weren't saying. Her daughter is unstable. Her son-in-law is a saint. I wanted to scream, to drag them to my kitchen, force their eyes to the footage. Instead, I held my head high. Rage had become my spine. That night, Nate and I sat with Rebecca. The footage played again, Tyler's hiss echoing in her office. She leaned back, fingers steepled, eyes cold. This isn't just abuse. This is fraud, defamation, attempted coercion. He's building a case to declare Emma incompetent, to take Noah, to take everything. But we have the we*P*N. We'll use his own stage against him. I looked at Emma then, my daughter, hollow-eyed, rocking Noah with trembling arms. She barely spoke anymore. But her eyes, when they met mine, carried one plea. Don't let him win. I squeezed her hand. He won't. Because now it was no longer just her fight. It was mine. And I would burn every lie he built until nothing remained but ash. The sky on the morning of the hearing was the same color as my nerves, gray, heavy, threatening rain. I rose before dawn, ironed my black suit, and tied my hair back with trembling hands. Emma sat at the table, pale, holding Noah against her chest. He cooed, oblivious to the storm waiting in the courthouse. Rebecca arrived with binders thick as bricks. Nate carried the laptop with every recording labeled and time-stamped. Megan Cole, the auditor, brought ledgers and bank statements. We moved as a unit, our silence heavier than words. At the courthouse doors, Tyler appeared late, as if to remind us time bent to him. He wore a tailored suit, his hair gleaming, his smile practiced. At his side, Marjorie radiated indignation, lips pinched tight. And behind them, Brooke, yes, Brooke, dressed in muted beige, her eyes lowered, as though shame could be disguised as modesty. The courtroom smelled of old wood and disinfectant. Judge Karen Lawson presided, her gaze sharp, her gavel resting like a warning. The bailiff called the case. Tyler's lawyer, slick and polished, began first. His words were sugar-coated venom. Your Honor, my client is a devoted husband and father. What we have here is a troubled wife, suffering from postpartum depression, manipulated by outsiders into vilifying her husband. The so-called evidence is a patchwork of private moments taken out of context. I clenched my fists. Lies poured so smoothly they almost sounded like truth. Almost. Then it was our turn. Rebecca rose, calm as ice. Your Honor, today we will show a pattern of abuse, abandonment, infidelity, financial fraud, and forgery. This is not hearsay. This is documented fact. She clicked the laptop. The first video filled the screen, the shelter footage. Tyler's silver SUV pulling in, Emma stumbling out, him pointing toward the storm, then driving away. The room fell silent except for the hiss of rain on the recording. The timestamp glowed. 10:36 p.m. Marjorie gasped softly. Tyler's jaw tightened, his mask cracking. Next came the home recordings. His voice filled the courtroom. You're useless. Why can't you be half the woman Brooke is? Then the balcony threat. Step outside again, and don't expect me to come a second time. Gasps rippled through the benches. The financials followed. Megan Cole stood at the witness stand, her tone clinical, devastating. Over $112,000 siphoned into Brooke Rivers's account. Documented transactions. Leases. Gift cards. Salons. Each connected directly to Mr. Tyler Roberts. Rebecca handed the judge a folder. Inside, receipts, signatures, dates. Paper doesn't lie. Then the fake certificate. Rebecca laid it out under the courtroom lights. A medical certificate signed by Dr. Robert M. The license number belongs to a veterinarian in Texas. This was used by Marjorie Roberts to claim Emma was mentally unstable. Judge Lawson's brow arched. Marjorie shifted in her seat, her rouge too bright, her composure slipping. Finally, the staged suicide attempt. The video played. Tyler scattering pills, Emma begging him not to post, his voice cold. The world will believe me. No one will believe you. A collective murmur spread through the benches. Even Tyler's lawyer shifted uneasily. When Rebecca rested her case, the silence was so complete I could hear Noah's tiny breathing from my arms. The defense scrambled. Tyler's lawyer tried denial. My client admits to mistakes, but he was under pressure. The money trail, an error in accounting. The videos edited. The certificate, a misunderstanding. Then came the turning point. Rebecca called Brooke to the stand. Tyler's head snapped toward her, fury in his eyes. But Brooke rose, her heels clicking like G*****TS. She unlocked her phone. On the screen, emails. Drafts Tyler had written for his social media posts, painting himself the victim. Chats with Dr. Robert M., a man who turned out to be a notary, not a doctor, arranging the $3,000 fake certificate. Audio messages of Tyler coaching her on how to edit his devoted father videos. Brooke's voice trembled, but her words were clear. I was part of it. I thought he loved me. But he used me too. I can't carry his lies anymore. The courtroom tilted. Tyler lunged to his feet. Liar. You begged me for that money. Order. Judge Lawson's gavel cracked like thunder. Marjorie exploded, standing shouting. This is all twisted. He's a good man. That girl is just ungrateful. Silence in the court. The gavel slammed again. When the verdict came, it was sharp and final. Tyler Roberts, this court finds you guilty of domestic violence, financial fraud, and forgery. You are sentenced to 9 years. All assets are seized. You are stripped of parental rights. A permanent no-contact order is issued for both Emma Roberts and her son Noah. The gavel fell. The mask shattered. Tyler's face twisted, no smile left. Marjorie sobbed into her hands. Brooke sat frozen, tears streaking her cheeks. I looked at Emma. She was crying, yes, but they were different tears, tears not of fear but of release. Noah stirred in my arms and I kissed his head, whispering, You're safe now, little one. Safe. As deputies led Tyler away, he turned, his voice hoarse, desperate. Emma, you'll regret this. You can't erase me. But she didn't look at him. She pressed her lips to Noah's hair and held on. For the first time in years, she chose silence not as fear, but as refusal. And that silence was louder than all his screams. The storm that began with a phone call ended not with thunder, but with silence. Real silence, the kind that isn't absence but peace. 1 month after the verdict, sunlight poured through my kitchen window, golden and warm. Noah lay on a blanket on the floor, waving his tiny hands at the ceiling as if he were catching the light itself. Emma sat beside him, hair loose, cheeks pink again, her smile small but real. I had almost forgotten what that smile looked like. I want to help women like me, she said quietly, eyes fixed on her son. I paused at the counter, a cup of tea in my hand. Help them how? She looked up, and for the first time since that night in the storm, her gaze was steady. I want them to know they're not alone. That what happened to me, what Tyler did, doesn't have to end them. That they can walk out of the storm and survive. And so the Noah Light Foundation was born. A name chosen not for memory of pain, but for survival. For the tiny boy who had nearly frozen in my arms but lived. For the women still stumbling in the dark, waiting for someone to find them. We started with nothing but a laptop, a desk, and resolve. Nate set up the website. Rebecca offered pro bono legal clinics. Megan designed financial workshops. Emma recorded her story. Not the wounds but the survival. Her voice shook at first but grew steadier each time she said, You deserve more than silence. You deserve freedom. The foundation grew like a tree breaking through concrete. Calls came from women across the state, voices trembling, asking if anyone would believe them. Each time Emma answered, I believe you. But peace is never pure. Even after the gavel fell, the scars remained. Some neighbors never looked at us the same. At the market, whispers lingered. That's the family from the trial. At church, Marjorie's friends turned their faces away. The world moves on from storms, but gossip clings like mildew. At night I still woke to echoes, the static of Emma's broken call, the scream that cut through the storm. Sometimes I dreamed of pounding on their door, of Emma walking back into Tyler's arms while I stood powerless. I would wake drenched in sweat, staring at the ceiling until dawn. And yet mornings came. Noah's laugh filled the rooms. Emma's voice returned, soft lullabies at night, steady words and meetings. Slowly, the storm receded. One afternoon, I stood at the window, watching Emma push Noah's stroller down the street. The air was crisp, the leaves beginning to turn. A neighbor waved. For once, Emma waved back. It was a small gesture, but to me it was a victory larger than the courtroom. I thought of Robert then, my husband gone too soon. He had built this house with his hands, believing it would shelter generations. He would never see Noah grow, never hold him. But I hoped he could see us now, surviving, still standing. The shelter, the storm, the courtroom, they had all left scars. But scars are not weakness. They are proof of survival. Sometimes, late at night, I sat at the table alone, the house quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. I thought of the choices that brought us here, the coat I gave Emma, the safe I left unguarded, the calls I refused to silence. Each one carved a path that led us through chaos to truth. Justice is never guaranteed. Courts can be swayed, neighbors can be fooled, lies can travel faster than facts. Justice begins with something smaller, quieter. A voice refusing to be silenced. Emma's voice that night, broken through static. "Mom, I'm so cold. Help me, save my baby." That was the spark. The storm tried to drown it, Tyler tried to bury it, Marjorie tried to smear it. But it burned still. And now that flame had become a beacon. The Noah Light Foundation opened its doors officially 6 months later. The first meeting was small. Just 3 women, nervous and quiet. By the end of the evening they were talking, sharing stories of slammed doors, hidden bruises, empty bank accounts. Emma listened, nodding, her eyes wet but steady. She told them, "I was you. You can be me now." I sat in the back, Noah on my lap, watching. I thought of the water pooling under my feet in the storm shelter, of neighbors' stares in the market, of the endless courthouse hallways. All of it led here. Freedom is never given. It is carved, cut from the hands of those who try to hold you down. Independence is not soft. It is sharp, hard one. The storm left us broken but also remade. Now when I walk by the ocean and feel the wind whip salt into my face, I think of that night. I think of Emma's scream. I think of Noah's silence against my chest. I think of the headlights catching that cream coat in the rain. And I ask myself the same question I asked then. Where had Tyler left her? Now I know. He left her in the storm, in silence, in pain. But she walked out. Names and places are changed, but the choices are real. The storm is not a metaphor. It was water and wind and a scream in the night. And if it were your storm, if your phone rang and your child's voice broke through static, begging for help, what would you do? Would you keep the peace? Or would you run into the rain, into the chaos, and refuse to let silence win? Because sometimes the only way to survive betrayal is to burn it down with truth. And sometimes the only way to light a path for others is to let your flame be their beacon.